Before we dive into today's episode, if you're a coach who wants a simple roadmap to turn your coaching vision into a life-first business, make sure you grab a copy of my free Spacious Business Blueprint. It's a one-page planning tool, plus a short training that walks you through the 7 core foundations that create steady client flow. So if things have been feeling scattered or heavier than you know they should, this is going to help you step back, look at the big picture, and see exactly what needs your focus right now. The link to grab your copy is in the show notes. All right, let's get into today's episode. One of the biggest myths online that's keeping coaches stuck or plateauing for longer than they need to is the idea that you need to have a complicated strategy and that you need to do more in order to see more success. So post more, create more offers, build more funnels, implement more strategies, show up on more platforms, and have more moving parts in your business. But honestly, I think the strongest businesses are built through radical simplicity. Now, I want to be really clear when I say this. I'm not saying that business doesn't require any work and that it's going to be easy, but it can be simple. Because I think the most direct path to get you to a life-first business that affords you flexibility, gives you more freedom, allows you to do work that lights you up without burning you out, and allows you to take care of your own well-being while you're facilitating change in others, which is so important if you're a coach. And I believe that the most direct path to that is the simple path. A lot of coaches are making business feel much harder than it needs to. And I've been there myself, trying to build everything at once, trying to do it all, and adding so much extra stuff to your plate that's not necessary, and therefore feeling frustrated, feeling burnt out, feeling exhausted, wondering why it all feels harder than it should. So in today's episode, I want to talk to you about the idea of radical simplicity as a business strategy and why this is something I'm really doubling down on at the moment more than ever. I'll also be touching on why complexity will slow you down and where to simplify, because that often creates much faster momentum, stronger authority, and a much calmer nervous system for you as the business owner as well. So let's dive in. Welcome to the Life First Coaching Business Podcast, where ambitious, purpose-led coaches trade hustle and burnout for simplicity, freedom, and clients who light them up. I'm Leonie, ex-architect and business owner turned business coach. If you're craving a business that feels spacious, joyful, and actually fun, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll be diving into the strategies, the systems, and the mindset you need to make your coaching business work for you. So let's dive in. Hello and welcome to today's episode. So I think a lot of coaches are drowning in information right now. We've never had more information flying at us. And while I'm aware, I'm giving you information as well, I really hope the information I'm giving you helps to cut through some of that noise and take away from the overwhelm. That's always my goal. So, as I said, there is a lot of advice online talking about specific funnels and strategies and tactics, and people saying, this is the one shift I changed in my funnel and suddenly I was making 7 figures. And I feel like there's no nuance in those conversations about what was actually in place before that strategy, before that tactic, that means that it worked for that person. And there's also not the nuance about why it's relevant to their audience, their niche, their offer. So the tactics that you use in your business really need to be aligned to all those other things that are going on. And there needs to be some layers in place before those tactics are actually going to work. And I'll talk about this later in the episode, but to stay on point, I think that sort of messaging that's very prevalent out there is what's causing the overwhelm. A lot of it is about the perfect reels and hooks and how to win on Instagram, when actually business comes down to a couple of key things. Solving a real problem that people want to pay to solve, and showing them the way that you do that with a clear, direct path that builds trust, builds awareness, and gets them ready to invest in your offer, knowing how it's going to change things for them and knowing why it's right for them. And putting it simply, that is all it's about. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't need all the bells and whistles, but it needs to be clear and it needs to be sharp in terms of the message and what's in that content. So what does a radically simple coaching business look like? It looks like having a very clear, specific niche with clarity on your positioning within that niche so that you can stand out and you can attract your ideal clients because you know what you stand for. You know how to clearly explain who you're for, what you do, and how you do it differently, and why your approach is the right approach for your ideal client. And then you want an offer that is easy to understand, it's based around a clear outcome, and then regular invitations into that offer. So one clear niche, one sharp message, one signature offer, and a clear client attraction system that is tailored to your ideal client, to your schedule, and hits the things that someone needs to hear to see your coaching as the solution for them and being ready to buy from you. Whatever tactics come into that is a side note, but those things need to be in place. Some of the places where you can really overcomplicate your business is trying to solve lots of problems or trying to serve lots of different people. And that just waters everything down, dilutes your message, and then you're feeling like you're putting in a lot of effort to get very little traction and attention. And the more specific you can get, the easier it is to get traction. And that doesn't mean that you're boxing yourself in forever. And it can be difficult, especially if you've got a creative, ideas-focused brain. The idea of talking about the same thing over and over again can feel like, oh, is this going to feel repetitive for my audience? Because it feels repetitive for me. But it's not the case at all, because the more you're repeating the same core message for a specific person, the easier it is to cut through the noise and to hit the number of touch points that someone needs before they'll start really paying attention. That is so important. Repetition over constantly reinventing, constantly refining, jumping from strategy to strategy, tweaking things all the time and just confusing your audience. Now, of course, no one's going to be perfect at this, but the problem comes when there's a lot of jumping around from idea to idea and no consistency in the way you're showing up, the things that you're saying, who you're saying it to, and the invitations you're making. So once you've got that simplicity baked into your business, it's much easier to get that consistency and that repetition over time and to stick to something long enough for it to actually cut through, rather than jumping from strategy to strategy, trying lots of different things, not giving them the chance to actually work, not trusting that they're going to work. And it's so hard to sometimes keep that clarity in your mind when there's all this information coming at you all the time about all these different tactics. But that's the approach you want to be thinking, that less is actually more. And having real confidence and trust in that. And that concept can be quite hard to get your head around. So much of our past programming has been around doing more to achieve more. And it's a real shift in thinking sometimes to think, actually, do less to achieve more. Taking away your worth from your productivity and from proving that you can do all these different things, and actually thinking, double down on less. Have more time to really refine that process and that message, and giving yourself the space to think and telling yourself, actually, I just need the patience to see this coming to fruition, rather than constantly being in your head of what else should I do? What more should I do? And wanting those results to come quickly, which then puts you into the mindset of jumping around and doing different things, rather than just trusting that what you're doing is going to work. The mistake you want to avoid is skipping over the foundational stuff, because that's the thing you need to get right in order for you then to implement a calm strategy and for it to actually work, and for you to be able to trust and not missing the mark because there's some gaps in that foundational strategy. And that's particularly in messaging. So getting clear on your niche and then getting that messaging clear is so important. And when those foundations are clear, you'll know it because your content will become easier. It won't feel like a challenge, and you'll see why that content is answering the right questions for your ideal client. Selling becomes easier. It won't feel like persuading or pushing. It will feel like inviting. So simple marketing is a much more sustainable way to approach your business, and it's the direct path to more momentum. And there's a famous saying that I come back to all the time, which is marketing isn't saying 100 different things, it's saying the same thing 100 times. So that's what we want to be looking at when it comes to marketing, and it's about having that simple structure that underpins it. And again, I want to iterate that simple doesn't mean easy. Of course, there's going to be hard days in business. There's going to be things that push you out of your comfort zone, and that's where it will feel hard. But it shouldn't feel hard in the amount that you're feeling the pressure to do all the time. When you have a clear sequence of building your business and you know how to move through the different phases to align with the growth that you're seeing, and when to start implementing more scalable tactics or more leveraged approaches, then it becomes much more sustainable and doable because you're not trying to implement everything all at once or jumping around from strategy to strategy. You've got a clear plan to take you through the stages that are going to get you to your life first business. And that can feel uncomfortable. I think the more we build simplicity into our business, the more we have no excuse not to get ourselves out there. We can't get stuck in the busy work of building and refining and tweaking. There's nowhere left to hide, and you have to get yourself out there. And for some people, that can be the thing that keeps them in that overcomplicating, is that it's a safety thing of I'm creating, I'm being productive, I'm doing lots of busy work, but actually you're not putting yourself out there, you're not making those invitations, you're not having those conversations or doing the things to really get visible. It can feel uncomfortable, and that's where the hard comes in. But the hard shouldn't be around the volume of different things that you're doing and creating. So simplicity will really ask you to commit to what you're doing, repeat yourself, trust in yourself, trust the process, and keep at it long enough for that momentum to build. So I don't want to mistake radical simplicity for playing small. It's not about playing small, it's about removing the unnecessary friction so that your energy can go fully into the things that are going to move the needle for you and actually take you forward. So it's a bold move. Building radical simplicity in your business isn't a soft move, it's a bold move. But it really is the way to unlock that pathway to a more life-first approach. So I hope this has helped you see why that's the case. And if it resonates for you and you can see that, yes, you want to follow this approach in your business, build something in a holistic way that's tailored to you, but using the framework that is going to get you there in the most direct way by building in this simplicity into your strategy, then I'd love to invite you to my next free masterclass, which is happening on Wednesday, the 3rd of June, the Calm Client Attraction System for Coaches, where we're really going to be diving into what this looks like in practice and the different layers of your business, how to make sure you're building things in the right order and you're not leaving any gaps in your strategy when you're moving from one phase to the next. So I'm going to be going through the 3 steps to calmer client attraction, what actually matters most in your business so that you know exactly what to focus on first, how to stop spinning your wheels and actually move forward and simplify your client attraction process in a bold way that actually helps you stand out and get traction quickly. This is not about adding more to your plate. It's not about more noise and complicated strategies. It's about clear foundations and a calmer system so that you can build a life-first business. So if you've been craving that clearer, more calm, sustainable way to grow your business, I'd love to see you there. I'll include the link in the show notes, but just go to leoniebusinesscoach.com, and there's a banner at the top of my website where you can click through and save your seat. So that's the easiest way to register. And there's also going to be some extra bonuses if you're there on the day. There will be a replay if you can't make that time, but I really encourage you to put that hour aside and show up live if you can, because you'll get the most out of it that way, and you'll get those extra free bonuses for showing up live as well. All the details for that are on the landing page where you sign up. And if you've got any questions, then head over to Instagram, send me a message. If you know another coach who would find this episode helpful, please share it with them as well. And I'll catch up with you again soon. Take care. This episode was brought to you by the Life First Coaching Business Playbook, the program for coaches who are ready to turn their coaching expertise into a business that actually works. Inside, you're not just learning what to do, you're building your business with all the tools, templates, and steps you need to implement with ease. Plus, you get ongoing support from me so you never get stuck on a decision or lose momentum along the way and can keep moving forward. You'll refine your niche and message, you'll create a compelling signature offer, and put a simple marketing system in place so you can attract clients consistently. So if you're ready to build a business that feels simple, spacious, and actually good to run, you can find the link to all the details in the show notes.